My purpose in life is to leave my dent in the universe in absolutely everything I do, as well as to inspire and help others do the same. For someone to leave their dent in my life is a privilege. For me to leave my dent in someone else's life is an honor. But to inspire and help others leave their own dent in the universe is an indescribable feeling. I plan on doing this through this podcast by celebrating my guests and inspiring my listeners, all while leaving my own dent in the universe and helping others do the same. My name is FER, and this is Denting. Hey guys, welcome to FER's Reminder. This will be a very short section, a monologue section, coming out once a week here on this podcast. It will usually be coming out on Mondays, early Pacific time. But for today, I'll make this exception because today actually happens to be my birthday. And although I don't tend to like celebrating my birthday too much, I figured that a nice way to celebrate my 20 years of life would be by sharing 20 lessons that I've learned throughout my lifetime. So let's dive right into it. The first one is that YOLO is not a reason to take a risk. Rather, YOLO is a reason to make the best out of your life. The fact that you only have one life doesn't mean that you should be careless about it. It means that you should make the best out of your limited time. Number 2, superficiality will not add any value to the person that you are. No cleat will make an athlete better. No diploma will raise the status of the person that you are, and no job will make you a better person. Tony Robbins says that nothing in life has meaning except the meaning we give it. And I think he is right. And we have to focus on the people that we are instead of the titles that society gives us. Number 3 is you can't give what you don't have. If you want to love others, you must first love yourself. If you want to help others, you must first prioritize yourself. 2 of my mentors said it best. The first one is Kaz Rasudadeth. He says, sometimes you need to work on yourself to then be more authentic and help others. And Bobby Thompson says that at times being selfish can be the most selfless thing we can do. And I think they're both right. That's really what it's about. And if we first prioritize ourselves, then we can have an impact on those around us. Number 4 is leadership equals service. There's this great term called servant leadership, but I think it's sad that we have to specify that service and leadership are the same thing. Society makes us think that the boss is the leader, that the first person in line is the leader, but that's not the case. Most often, the leader is the one that's making the boss's life easy. The leader is the person at the back of the line, making sure that everybody else is doing their job. That's what leadership is. Leadership is service. Number 5, the loudest haters are always the most insecure. At times, we'll all have somebody that disagrees with us or that doesn't like what we're doing, and that's perfectly fine. It's normal. But I think that with this, we have to realize that these people may be insecure about what they're talking about, or they may be insecure about what we are doing. So don't let it get to you. Just realize that everybody goes through their own things. Everybody lives their own life, and that's perfectly fine. Let them be, ignore them, cut them out, and focus on what you have to do. Most of the time when people are trying to pull you down, it's because they're already below you. So just remember that next time. Number 6, life is about the journey, not the destination, yet we never focus on that. In life, we're always thinking about the medal. We're always thinking about the trophy and all these things. But in reality, the reward is in the journey. It's in the obstacles that we have to face. It's in the adversity that we have to go through. It's in the struggles that we have to deal with. That's what life is about. That is the real reward that comes with life. And I think this has to do with our culture, especially the one I was born into, because we want immediate results. If we want to know something, it's a quick Google search away. If we want food, we'll order it on Uber Eats. It's all quick. But we're not really patient with our work, and we don't realize that sometimes we have to be patient and go through all these struggles to then look back and say, wow, that was really rewarding. I learned a lot from this, and that's what life is truly about. Number 7, the world will be the exact same place and nothing will change before and after listening to your opinion. Saying your opinion is fine. I'm obviously sharing my opinions right now, so that's a bit contradictory, but I think that there's a limit to how much we can share our opinions. And I'm saying this out of my own experience. I've debated with many people. I've had arguments with many people in my life, as we all have. But I think there is a point where we must realize, like, you know what, it's not worth it. It's not worth it to get heated over this. It's not worth it to even give too much time and energy to this. You just have to realize, like, hey, if it's a meaningful conversation, great. But once it's above that, nothing is really going to change. Starting with our points of views and how the world works anyways. Number 8, values make you, but habits shape you. If life were a skyscraper, we all need that solid base, which is made up of our values. Values must always be firm. It's what you believe in. It's what makes you who you are. But the habits really shape you. And I say this because you are what you do, and the majority of what you do is in your habits. So whether you're living a good life or a bad life, that really probably has to do with your habits. If you want to change anything, go back to your habits, because that's the majority of what we do in our day in and day out. Once you fix that, your life will really completely change. There's this great quote by Viktor Frankl. He says, "Man is pushed by drives and pulled by values." And I think that's really important to know. I have here written down that without a purpose in life, life becomes a means to life. And that's really pointless. It takes the fun away from life. So find something you're passionate about and work towards that. Work towards improving and enjoying it every single day. Because if not, then you're just going to be studying to then work and working to then live. And what's the fun in that? Obviously it sounds like what we do, but if you don't enjoy that means to later find an ends, it's really, really not worth it. Number 9, education is the key for a better society. I've learned this through many different ways. I truly do believe that a strong education can solve the world's problems. I've learned this through lots of reading, especially over the past year when I started reading, through listening to audiobooks, listening to podcasts, watching movies, watching YouTube videos, documentaries, listening to certain songs, and especially through the episodes coming up in this podcast. I think that there's many different ways to learn. There's many different ways to educate yourself, whether that's sitting down with someone or just watching or listening to something else. There's many ways to do it. Find your way and make it happen, because that will really, really, really improve your own life, which will then help you improve the society that you belong to. Number 10, focus on the things you can control and ignore the rest. This is one of the best lessons that I've learned from my favorite author, Ryan Holiday. Once you realize that you can't control the majority of things in this life, you will really just find your own peace. You'll find it because there's nothing you can do about everything else. You'll lose stress over things. You won't be as anxious. And really, it all goes down to the few things you can control are all in here. It's all in your mind. It's from your opinions, your reactions, your thoughts, your perceptions. That's what you can control, but there's nothing else in this life. Not your body, because you can get sick or you can get injured. Not your circumstances, not the adversity you face, not what happens to your friend or what your parents have to say or this or that. You really cannot control it. That's a small circle. But even if we're focusing on current events or politics or things like that, like, you cannot control that. And once you accept that, all you can do is control your perception, opinions, which then leads you to, let's say with this example, to vote. That's what you can control. But anything besides that, really don't lose sleep over it. It's not going to help you. It's not going to change the world. Number 11, social media is a reflection of your own life. There's many people that say they want to delete social media because the content on there is just not good, but they don't realize that social media is a reflection of their own life. It's really a mirror that you look into and where you find yourself. And I say this because of the algorithm that there is within social media. Anything that you see is because you want to see it. The social media is showing you what you want to see. It's closing you up in that bubble. If you don't like that, then something needs to change about you, starting with what you follow and what you don't follow, and things like that. I think that social media can be a very, very powerful tool if you allow it to be, if you recognize this. But if you're just going to avoid the problem and just delete it all in one instead of fixing it, then you really just won't find this great tool that it could become. Number 12, just because the majority of people believe something does not mean it's right. That goes back to the Latin phrase ad populum. It's happened to me many times. I have my own firm belief and many people are against it, and that's okay. I think we all have an unpopular opinion. But I think that the best thing we can do in this type of situation is sticking with our gut feeling and just sticking with our belief, our gut feeling, and our values. And hey, if some people choose to disagree, that's on them. If we choose to disagree, that's on us. Really doesn't matter, but just stick to what you believe in. I think that's the most important thing. And just because there's a popular opinion doesn't mean it has to be yours. Number 13, this is one of the things my mom has told me my whole life. Keep your feet on the ground and your eyes on the heavens. It's another way of saying always be ambitious, but remain humble throughout the whole process of things. So I think it's a great reminder, and it's important to have people that are pushing us to reach our goals, but also keeping us humble at the same time. And shout out to my mom for that. She's really, really helped me to do that, and I recommend that everybody find someone that can provide that best of both worlds sort of thing for them. Number 14, everyone you meet will know something that you don't know. I think that is extremely important to recognize. That's extremely important to keep in mind. It's always good to keep an open mind when you're meeting anyone. It doesn't matter if they're similar or different to you. You can always learn You can always learn something from them. And if we realize this, it could really end up being beneficial for us in the long run. Number 15, one sacrifice is a group sacrifice. Whenever you choose to sacrifice something, it affects others as well, which is why success alone is a failure. Anytime you sacrifice, it doesn't mean you have to push everyone away. And that's a mistake I've made plenty of times. I think that recognizing that my sacrifice affects my family, it affects my parents, my siblings, my friends, it really does affect everyone in a small way or a big way. That depends on specific circumstances. But the point is that since it does affect everyone, once you are successful, there's no point in just being successful alone. The whole point in this is sharing it with others. So if you're gonna be successful, you have to include everybody that belonged to that process, because you must recognize that without their support, you would not be there. Number 16, prioritize long-term success over temporary pleasure. Many people choose temporary pleasure because they think that's what makes them happy and what life is about, but it really isn't. Talking about this sacrifice, you have to sacrifice these certain things, and it involves everyone. The way it could involve your family is maybe in my case, I have a soccer game the next day early morning, so I can't go out to dinner that night. It's little things like that affect everyone, but that you have to just prioritize the long run, because in the long term, all those nights, Friday nights, Saturday nights that I stayed in to then be able to play soccer the next day just really ended up helping me out to get into a fantastic school and play for a great program, and it kept building up. So obviously I could have gone out any of those weekends, and it would have been temporary pleasure. That would have been lots of fun, but in the long run, I don't think I would be where I am today. And that's just an example that anyone can apply to their own life. Number 17, your only competition is yourself. It's always been you versus you. You don't have to be looking at what this person is doing or that person is doing. You just have to focus on yourself. The point of you versus you is you have to be better than your past self. You have to be one day better every single day. That's what competition is about. You have to focus on the person you see in the mirror. Improve that person, beat that person, but don't focus on others. Once again, focus on what you can control and ignore the rest. Focus on yourself, on improving yourself, on competing against your old self, and just adding that up every single day, you'll continue to progress every single day. And tying that into sacrifice, there's no progress without sacrifice. So just keep that in mind, compete against yourself, focus on what you can control, and continue to sacrifice. Number 18, the first step to solving any problem is recognizing that there is one. That really took me quite some time to learn, but once I realized this, it changed my life. So that's definitely something that I would just tell everybody to keep an eye out for. Just take a step back sometimes and recognize like, hey, there's a problem here. I have to fix it. And that's the first step to reaching a solution. Number 19, life is measured by the dent you leave in the universe. I obviously firmly believe that. This is why I have this podcast. And at the end of our time, whenever that may be, I think that if we look back and see how we've left our dent in other people's life, either by helping them leave their own dent or by inspiring them to leave their own dent, which are two completely different things that I'll touch on later in another episode. I think that that's how life is measured. And as long as you help one person, as long as you impact one life, you're succeeding. That's all that really matters. So keep that in mind. Try to impact one person either every year or every month, every week, every day, whatever you think is reasonable. Just set that goal and try to change as many lives as possible. One person can change the world if we do it one step and one day at a time. So do that. That's a little challenge for you guys, and see what happens. Think about it, and over time you'll see a huge impact for sure. And number 20, finally, the last one, celebrate life. I used to not like celebrating my birthday. I'm really not a big party guy or birthday guy at all, but I think that we all need to find a way to give thanks for the life that we live and to celebrate the blessings that make up our life. This is my way of doing it. Why? Because I like to podcast and I enjoy sharing all these lessons with people. I think that a lesson learned should be a lesson shared. And that's what I'm doing here. It's fun for me. I'm enjoying it. It's my way of having or starting a great day. And hopefully, like I said, hopefully it impacts one life. Hopefully maybe one of these lessons sticks with you. As long as one sticks with you, then the purpose of this episode was fulfilled. And last thing, I actually skipped over this in part of one, but I think it's important to keep in mind that with all of these 20 lessons to be successful in your life, you don't need success to be happy, but you do need happiness to be successful. Keep that in mind. I don't think that success equals happiness. I really don't, but I do think that you cannot be successful without happiness. So start there, love yourself, prioritize yourself, and then continue to grow off of that. Like I said, this is the first episode of FER's Reminder here on Denting with FER. It's going to be a quick monologue every single Monday, early in Pacific time. This is probably the longest episode I'll ever do here. I'll touch on many of these ideas and lessons that I've shared, as well as many more. It's going to be very quick and a nice little monologue to start off your week. That's it for today. Thank you all so much. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Tomorrow, episode 2 will be dropping with my good friend Christian Gomez. We'll be talking about being still through adversity. Honestly, it's an amazing episode. He taught me so much. He's taught me so much in the past 2 years, but that episode opened my eyes a lot. I did not know that much about Christian. I highly recommend you check it out. It'll be dropping around 5 p.m. Pacific time on YouTube and Spotify tomorrow on Wednesday. So yeah, make sure to check it out. I'll see you guys there. Stay safe and leave your dent in the universe. See ya. Thank you so much for listening to today's episode. Make sure to subscribe to my podcast and follow me on my personal social media accounts for more. All at FER Andraez. All links are in the description. If this episode inspired you in any way, please help me out by sharing it with a friend to help them leave their dent in the universe as well. That's it for today. I'll see you all next time.